Since I started my career, I have encountered these words many times, whether it is a customer issue, an internal problem, or any problem solving. The words corrective action and preventive action, they are like backbone of any industry. Anything, any problem, if you need to solve, you need to identify these actions. But throughout my role as an auditor and as a consultant, I have encountered that there is a huge understanding difference between these words. So there have been different definitions, there have been different interpretations. So today, without wasting any time, let us just understand the difference between corrective action and preventive action, and let us just not use definitions, and instead let us use a framework to understand this. So let us begin. When we talk about problem solving, this means at first there is a problem, there is a failure. So let us just start with that. Failure. So let us say there is a failure. And for every failure, we have to take some actions. Let's say we are going to take some actions. Now it is important, you are taking an action either before the failure or after the failure. Let's say you are taking an action before the failure. You may even take an action after the failure. But the important thing is, you are taking action on what? Are you taking action on results? Results here specifically mean they are either defects, your issues, your problems that you have encountered, the effects, or you are taking action on the causes. Okay. Now, let us assume a failure has happened, and after that failure you have taken an action on its result. Then that action would be called as correction. But the failure has happened and you have taken an action on its cause. Now that action would be called as corrective action. Similarly, let's say you have anticipated a failure. This means failure has not happened, but you have anticipated it and you have anticipated the result of that failure, and you have taken an action to prevent that result, so that even if failure happens, that result should not happen. Then the action that you are going to take or you have taken will be called as prevention. On the other hand, now again this time you have anticipated the failure and simultaneously your team have identified that why this failure can be. You have identified the cause of that failure, and this time you have taken the action on that cause before that failure has happened. Now that action would be called as preventive action. Let us just quickly understand this with the help of some examples. Let's say in a manufacturing scenario, a welder is welding, and during the welding process there is an undesired outcome which is called a spatter, and spatter is coming out of that welding gun, and spatter is let us just assume that spatter has hit someone's eye. This means a failure has happened. And after that failure, what you have done is, you have taken some actions with that person, but simultaneously you have created a fence where the welding is happening. Now that fence is going to help you in stopping that spatter in hitting someone else. So this means a correction has been done. On the other hand, your team has gathered and now they are trying to identify the cause of the problem. And they have identified that The spatter is caused because of an unclean nozzle. Now what they have done is, apart from that fence, they have asked the welder to clean the nozzle in every 20 minutes or after every 40 components. Now that action would be called as corrective action, because this time you have tried to stop the spatter itself by taking the action on its cause. Let's say, before even starting the welding, you have fenced the entire area so that anyone who passes by is safe from that spatter. You have not stopped the spatter, but definitely that spatter is not going to hit anyone. So what you have done is called as prevention. And your team, they have identified why there is a spatter, and for that spatter again they have identified it is because of nozzle cleaning. So before that spatter can happen, that can occur and hit anyone, you have identified its cause and you have taken the cause that if the welding has to be done, then the welder has to, let's say, clean the nozzle in every 15 minutes or after every 40 components. This means you have already designed a preventive action. See how simple these things are. And this is how the definition has been formed with respect to correction, corrective action, prevention and preventive action. If I have to define correction, so how I am going to define? Correction is the action taken on results after a failure has happened. Corrective action is the action taken on the cause of the failure after this has happened. Prevention is the action taken on the results before it could happen, before the failure can happen. And preventive action is the action taken on the cause before any failure could happen. This is how it has been defined. One more thing. Correction is also called as troubleshooting. So what's that? It is also correction. I mean, they are synonyms of each other. For example, I am having headache and you have given me some medicine, some Saridon or some tablet. And I am having headache because I have not taken my lunch, because I have not taken food. So that medicine is not going to fill my stomach, but definitely it is going to suppress the result. So specifically after the headache, if I am taking that medicine, that will be called as troubleshooting, not corrective action. It's not problem solving, it is just troubleshooting. So correction is also called as troubleshooting. And there is another name of preventive action, and it is called as horizontal deployment of corrective action. Horizontal deployment of corrective action is also called as preventive action. What does it mean? Just assume, we took an example of the welding. The accident happened, you have taken the corrective action. Now there are other manufacturing lines also where the welding is going to happen. Now there have, on those welding booths, on those areas, there have been no issues, no failures. And you have implemented the same corrective action, that is cleaning of the nozzle, in those areas also. Now for those areas, this action would be called as the preventive action. In simple words, I might have made n number of mistakes in my life. And I have also taken corrective actions for that. This means I have tried to correct the cause. If the same actions I have recommended to my brother, who has not yet entered in this industry, and he has started taking those actions and those cautions, so the corrective actions that I took are the preventive actions for him. So this is what it means. Horizontal deployment of corrective action is also called as preventive action.